Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thanks for joining me today for another Ask VoiceOverAngela. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you some of the tips and tricks and techniques that I use every day in my own voiceover business, and I answer your questions in these weekly Q&As. Because sometimes we just have answers that maybe we can't find on social media or through YouTube, or, well, you can find them here on YouTube. You can find just about any any answer to a question on YouTube. But if you're not new here, then you know that every week we have a poll. And today's poll is, do you have a voiceover or audiobook rate guide? And a rate guide is basically if you want to make it like a PDF format, an Excel spreadsheet, it's some sort of a document that has all of your different rates on it that you can easily supply to a client who wants to know your rates, right? It is also something that you're going to base all of the rates that you ask for or that you list on your profiles on all of your P2Ps and your freelance work site or work freelance marketplaces. But it's basically the document that you refer to when someone asks, how much is this? Right? And you can update it as you go along and get better and invest in your equipment. But it's very handy to have and to reference if someone asks, you know. So let's hop on over to, got way too many tabs open, pardon me. Okay, so right now we have 19 votes, and it looks like 11% of you said yes, 47% of you said no, and 42% said, what is a rate card? Well, I hope that answers your question in what a rate card is. It is ideal to have one. It's something that you probably want to invest some time in and look at some other places that have rate cards. Check out different sellers on all of these other, freelance marketplaces. Get a good idea of what you're comfortable with asking for as your rate, and then create a rate card. I'm going to show you a place where I think is a good place to start, and that is Anthony Pica's voiceover rate guide. So this is on his website, which is aviosjourney.com. And he has a tab up here for voiceover rate guide. So this is something that he created a couple of years ago, maybe two years ago. Anthony, if you're here, you can correct me if you're wrong, or if I'm wrong, not you're wrong. You know what I mean? But he's got it all broken down in here in terms of the different website types, right? If it's a freelance marketplace or a P2P. And a P2P is a pay-to-play website. And these are places like voices.com, Voice123, where you have to pay a membership fee, basically, to audition, or they take a portion of your proceeds or both. So he's got it all broken down here by beginner, intermediate, and seasoned or expert, however you want to say it. And it's really, really easy to understand and digest. And if you just scroll through here, you could see he's got broadcast TV, right? The first one was non-broadcast. And beginner rates, intermediate rates, seasoned audiobook narration rates, phone messages and IVR, e-learning and corporate narration, video games and apps, ADR and dubbing. I know I'm scrolling through this fast. I just wanted to show you the different types. Meditation and or affirmation, basically the same umbrella, right? And then he's also got Fiverr prices, what recommended for starting out on Fiverr. And as a pro seller, that's something that you are vetted for through Fiverr is to be a pro seller. Um, I've done just fine as a top-rated seller on Fiverr. I don't think I'll go pro. All the different add-ons that are available through Fiverr. Upwork prices also are in here. And keep in mind that Upwork is not really formatted for VoiceOver yet, because for Upwork, the listing or the price point on your profile is going to be an hourly rate. And more often than not, VoiceOver is the price is predicated on, you know, what the word count is, not so much per hour. So he has all of this broken down here for you. But what I wanted to impress upon you is that having your own rate guide, and you can take all of this information in on, and there's also the GVAA rate guide. I think there's a rate guide on, is it the Edge Studio? There's a handful of places where there are recommended rates or rate guides. So take it all in, read through it, understand it, and come up with your own rate guide. And I have created my own through Canva, actually. I took I think it was like a menu template for like a nail salon type of a thing. And then I just moved some things around. I put my logo on it, and then I listed the different types of voiceover that I offer, and made it sort of like a menu with price points on it. And then I converted it, or I downloaded it as a PDF, and now I have a PDF rate card that I can share with clients when they ask. And that's also the same rate card that I reference when someone asks, sends over a script and says, how much is this? It'll make your life a whole lot easier just to have a rate card, at least have a firm grasp on the understanding of the different voiceover types and how they're priced. Will definitely help you going forward. Let's hop on over to the comments. I'm sure we've got questions. Louie, I see you. Louie. Thank you, Louie, for the super chat. I appreciate you. Good morning, Angela in the house. Ever considered using your channel as a way to interview your way into voice acting for big budget productions? Me personally, interview my way into voice acting for big budget productions. I have. I mean, there really is a lot that you can do with a YouTube channel or just social media if you can leverage it right. I haven't really considered that, but I mean, it's a possibility. I like my YouTube channel sort of as it is just a channel of information and doing these lives as a form of community and checking in with other voice actors and just sharing what I have learned. And then also I have my Just for Fun playlist too. If you haven't seen those, I've got but I haven't considered that. But I mean, it's a good idea. I could. I don't know if anyone would want to talk to me, apart from you guys. But I mean, thank you for the idea. You rock, Louie. Thank you for the super chat. Let's hop on over to Zetop. We have Robert, of course. Good morning, Robert. How are you? We have James is here. Good morning, James. Thanks for joining. And then Sally says, hi, Angela. Partly cloudy, warm, but beautiful in Pensacola. Hope you're doing well today. I am a little bit allergy-ish. A little stuffy today. I'm not sure why. Look forward to learning from you and others today. Well, thanks for coming. We appreciate you. Everybody that joins, looks like we got about 33 people here. Holy Moses. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. And I hope that we can make this very informational and worthy of your time. So I appreciate you. Kalin, I know you told me if I said this right last time, but my memory is just garbage anymore. If I don't write it down, it's gone. Kalin Weber, I hope that's right. How do you crack the egg and get your first orders on insert freelance site here? Also, is it okay to post volunteer readings in your body of work on those same sites? let me start with the second question first, because that's the easier answer. Yes, you can. Anything that's got your voice on it, as long as you have the client's permission, and if it's volunteer work going into like a public domain, like if it's LibriVox or something like that, then yes, you can absolutely use that as a demo for demo purposes, right? To showcase what you sound like in your narration. The first question, how do you get your first orders on whatever site that you're on? That is, I hate to say it, I wish there was an easy answer, but there's no telling. Because as I always say, this business is a numbers game. It just is. Sending out auditions, lots of auditions, and then having your audition cross paths with a client that is looking for your voice, for your delivery, for your interpretation of their script. So it's really hard to say. And if you're looking at places like Fiverr or Upwork, like freelance marketplaces where there are thousands upon thousands of other choices to choose from, there's a good chance that it's a price point thing. It could be a skill thing. Because, I mean, let's face it, there are a lot of people joining all the time on these sites. Some stay and make this a career, and some just kind of dip their toes in the water and see if it's something that they want to do. But nevertheless, all of those profiles take time to scroll through. They might not even see you if you don't find them, right? And the only way to find them on places like, for example, Fiverr is to go to the buyer's request section. Otherwise, nobody knows that you're there, basically. I think I took a U-turn there a couple of times, so I hope that makes sense. But the best way to have people find you on Fiverr is to be active on Fiverr. You can share your Fiverr gigs, for example, on social media. You can share your Upwork profile on social media. You can share it on your website. You can visit on Fiverr, you can visit the buyer's request section, and you have 10 of those that you could submit every day. I say submit them. Submit them. That is the only way that you're allowed to market yourself on Fiverr. But what it comes down to is don't just sit there on whatever platform it is and expect all of the people to come and find you. It's not going to win you a lot of business. You have to be proactive. You have to market yourself. You have to let the world know that you are there and let them know what you sound like. And like I said, there's a multitude of ways to do that. So what you put in is usually what you get out, right? So it's hard to say. Some people get started right away. Some people get an order right away. Some people wait a few months. They're not waiting a few months, but I guess they are waiting a few months, but it's not, their first order doesn't happen for a few months, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I would say don't sit on your duff. Get out there and market yourself. Introduce yourself to people. Let everybody know that you were there. Doug Mack says, good evening. Hello from Doug McCraw, Greensboro, North Carolina. Question, how do you cool your booth? Oh, good golly. In the summertime here in Arizona, it gets up to about 120 degrees in the summer, which is rough. And I know there are ways to just to skillfully remove the sound of air conditioning and fans and stuff like that out of your audio, but I have not yet mastered that. And every time I've tried, I ended up taking out too much of my own voice, especially if you're working with audiobooks, because you have to keep in mind that noise floor has to be relatively low to pass for our audible standards, right? So I have got to the point where I record when the air conditioner's off, and then when I'm editing or when the air conditioner's on, I'll edit, and I have a little fan in here in my booth that I turn on just to keep the air circulating in here and to cool me down. Some voice actors don't have any ventilation at all in their booths, so they have to just record in spurts. They have to record in 15-minute, 20-minute spurts and then take a break, open the door, add a little ventilation. It's going to be probably really dependent upon how your booth is set up. If it's a room that has a HVAC vent, then cool it while you're editing and then have it off while you're recording. But if you have a situation where you don't have any ventilation in your booth, then you probably have it the roughest, and you'll probably just have to take a lot of breaks in the summertime. There are some booths, Whisper Room, Studio Bricks, and a couple of others that you can purchase a ventilation system for. However, I don't know if they are quiet enough. I personally don't have one, obviously, but I don't know if they're quiet enough to have running while you're recording. If anybody here in the chat has such a booth, like a Whisper Room or a Studio Bricks with a ventilation system in it, do you record while the ventilation system's running, or do you have it off? But cooling your booth is just the bane of the existence of any voiceover actor. And the same thing with cold too. It's hard because you're in a box and you're trying to record something and not die. So it's not easy at all, but good luck to you. I hope you find a solution so you don't overheat. At Home with Tom and Rhonda Howard. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining today. Kirk is here. There's my birthday boy. How you doing, birthday boy? I know it was yesterday, but good morning, my little leprechaun. LOL. Piping in before I record my evil clown. I'm guessing there are no special formatting requirements for video games, just HQ file. Yeah, I think if your client needed something specific, they would have told you up front. That's generally how it goes. But yeah, I would just deliver just a standard WAV file. I would love to hear this evil clown, though. Can you bring it on Thursday? Love to hear it. John Popovich is here. Hello, John. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. JCCAOL is here. Hello from Wisconsin. Hello, hello. James Park says, I find the best way to cool the booth is to take a break, open the door, and set a fan outside blowing into the booth. Yeah, I think it's really going to be dependent upon your situation and what you can do. Do anything that you can do. I've heard of some people really getting clever with, swamp coolers and stuff like that in their booth. But ultimately, anything that's going to keep you cool and not make a whole lot of noise, I would think. But yeah, it's rough in the summertime. James also says, I don't have a separate rate card, but my rates are on my website. They're based on GVAA rates. Nice. That is a good idea as well. I don't think I have my rate card on my website. I would prefer to have somebody reach out to me first. I would like to make that connection first instead of having my rates readily available. I'd rather someone reach out and say, hi first. But that's just me. Robert Palmore says, thank you, Louie. Yes, thank you, Louie. That was very kind of you for the super chat. Top of the morning to you, everyone. Danelle says, good day from Philly. Thanks for sharing this. Thanks for being here. At Home with Tom and Rhonda Howard says, this CC is Tom. I just had my first class with Susan last night, and I'm a new VO student. Susan Fouché, I assume. First experience was great. Looking forward to classes with you as well. That's amazing. So you joined the academy. I think it's a great value for what you get, for sure. VoiceOver Van Deen, so far the frog has not visited, or has it? It just becomes so common that I'm clearing my throat all the dang time. Have I done it yet? I don't think I have. I'm not going to jinx myself. The frog says, good afternoon, too. Unfortunately, he's been plaguing me for most of the day. See, I think that's where he is. He's with you today. Him and don't make me want to have to pronounce that. Eustachian? Eustachian. Eustachian? Tube Pop Monster. What is that? John in the house. John Popovich. Everybody's in the house. Kim says, good morning. I just joined Anthony's VO Academy. Nice. And realized that you're no longer listed on the schedule. I was looking forward to your audiobook classes. I'll watch the reruns, but will you be back? We're actually, and thank you for doing that. We are actually trying to switch up some formats for classes. So we're trying to make sure that everybody gets value, right? And because of all of the different schedules and having like a global academy is difficult in itself, to try to have classes that will allow everyone around the globe to attend is difficult. And with working voice actors that only have so much time is difficult. So we're trying a different format for now. But for me, to answer your question, I may be back in the future. We're just trying something different. I've switched to monthly webinars that we hold through Anthony, Susan, and myself. Will get on and do like a webinar for an hour or two, typically 2 hours, and talk about auditions, what we liked about them. And these are auditions for Anthony's audiobook production company. And long story short, that's just what I've switched to. Instead of weekly classes, I do the monthly webinar. There may be a chance that I come back in the future. But again, I'm still part of the academy, but we're trying some new formats just to see what sort of works better for people. So to answer your questions, I may be. We'll see. James says, the question I have about rates is about broadcast versus non-broadcast and buyout. I'm not sure what those terms mean. Broadcast would be paid advertising, right? So paid advertising, like if you're on social media on a paid, the client paid to broadcast this voiceover, right? It's on Google ads, Facebook ads, TV, radio. If it's paid, that is broadcast. Non-broadcast would be non-paid channels like commercial rights. Non-broadcast would be YouTube videos, social media, just regular social media, podcasting. Anytime that you're online, basically, that's not in a paid channel, somebody's website, somebody's business website, that would be non-broadcast. And then buyout means that if you're doing broadcast work, then you can, if they plan on advertising with your voiceover for 3 months, 6 months, a year, regionally, nationally, globally, all of those different price points will depend on where they're going to play it and for how long. And then the buyout just sort of umbrella covers all of that. It's just a buyout. So they have you basically in perpetuity. I hope that makes sense. Grant Bunting says, good morning, Angela. Grant from Columbus, Ohio. I'm looking to submit my first audiobook auditions. Do you just read the audition as written, or is there anything else I should include? Just read what is written. Just read what is written. If it's word salad, I apologize up front. But I would ask if this is the final draft. If there are blatant typos, stuff that doesn't really make sense, I would ask the author if this is, in fact, the final draft or the manuscript. They could have just uploaded the wrong one. I've actually had that happen before, where there were just blatant typos and things just didn't look right. And so that I'd reach out to the rights holder and I said, hey, is this the final draft? And they said, oh my goodness, I uploaded the wrong one. But definitely reach out to the rights holder and let them know if that is the case, because there could be the possibility that their print copy has these typos in it. And maybe it did go through the editing process once or twice and it was missed. I've had that happen too. I've had a book that I was narrating that went through the editing process twice, and I still found a typo. And I reached out to the rights holder, and then they were able to update the Kindle version with the correction as well. But in terms of anything else you should include, no, unless you want to add like a nice personal touch at the beginning of your audition. If the rights holder's name is present, use it. Let's just say the author's name is John. You could say, "Hi, John. I'm Angela. I'm auditioning for XYZ," and then start with the audition. But whatever you do, make sure that you start the audition right away in terms of the file. Don't leave a bunch of dead space at the beginning of the file, because chances are, if you leave 3 to 5 seconds of dead space at the beginning of the audition, they might just lose their patience because they've got 40 other auditions to listen to. So make sure that whatever it is, that they can hear you right away. Make sure I answered. Okay. Yep. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. For Robert, for mild allergies, some people believe eating honey that is produced locally will help. Yes, I've heard that. I've heard that a few times, but I don't have any honey. Actually, wait a minute. No, there are honey stands, but they're not within like a 10-mile radius. And I think there is a recommended radius too, because the ideology is that the pollen that those bees are collecting to make their honey are what's affecting you, obviously, within your radius. And that would help you kind of build up, immunity so you won't be allergic. But I mean, it could be anything for me. I mean, who knows? My sinuses are just trashed. Danelle says, scroll down here. Yes, Robert. It's like microdosing the local pollens when you get a spoon of local raw honey. Yeah, I really need to look around and see if I can find a beekeeper that sells honey with a honey stand nearby. Louis says, I found gargling tequila does wonders for clearing up the throat. I'm sure it does. I don't have any tequila in here. I have my fire cider and coffee, obviously, and water, but that's about it. Hey, Phil. Phil says, hey, Angela. Hey, Phil. What's up? Robert says, if you have an extended session and can't get a quiet, cool air source, consider the reusable ice blocks or packs. Even take water bottles and freeze them. Yeah, that's a great idea. And kind of maybe stuff them in and around you in the small of your back, on your shoulders. Or what I just thought of? There are ice packs that kind of wrap around your shoulders that you can either get wet or freeze, and then you just wrap it around your neck. That would definitely cool your core. Cool your core. That might work too. Brittany says, hey, I auditioned for a book on ACX and just got the email that it was removed by the author. I know it was legit. I verified with her off ACX. Do you ever see those get put back on? Yes, it could be that she just had maybe a family emergency. Maybe she decided at the last minute that this wasn't the right time to have an audiobook made for whatever the reason. So yeah, if it was legit and it was removed, then maybe that's just it. Maybe it's just not the right time for them. But definitely don't wait for it. Move on and audition. Audition for more. Robert says, the best way to use an ice block or frozen water bottle is to hold it. I used this trick when visiting China, where it is so muggy and hot. I lived there for 6 months. I'm well aware. It's challenging. No one thought anything of carrying a water bottle. As long as it's water, not vodka, right? Louis says, FYI, Red Peppers is a voice actor established in the industry. I sent you an email with his agent's contact information. You did? I'll have to look for that. Been having really big issues with Google lately. I'll have to look and make myself a note, otherwise I'll forget. Was it recently? Hang on, let me make a note. Making a note. Kirk says, I'll bring Joy the Clown along on Thursday. By the way, Platinum Thursdays with Angela rock. We have a lot of fun on our Thursday meetings for sure. Danelle says, "Oh, neti pot to clean those sinuses." You, I've tried like nasal flush things number of times, and it doesn't seem to do much for me, other than just be gross and irritating. I'm telling you, I've got like special sinuses ever since I had COVID, like over 2 years ago now. They've just been trash. Ugh. Scott says, "Hi, Angela. Hope you're having a great day." Yes. So far, so good. We're doing good. Hopefully, I just, whatever this congestion, and I can feel it, whatever it is, just goes away. Christine Hauser says, "I love neti pot." Do any of you have that Navage? I think it's called Navage, where it's got it. There's like a little nose thing on either side, and one pushes and one pulls to kind of clean everything out. Does anybody have one of those? Does it work? I've heard that it works, but it kind of freaks me out to have the push and the pull through there. Like, oh my God, that's got to be uncomfortable. But what do I know? I've never tried it. Goldie's Adventures After 50 says, "Love the tip on rates, Angela. Tip for staying cool in hot home studio. I use an inexpensive $30 cooling vest. It has 6 waterproof pockets for ice packs. It's a great way to stay cool and no noise." That's a great tip. A cooling vest with ice packs. That's a good idea. I'm sure you can find those on Amazon, right? Cool. I have to go check that out. Scott says, "Yes, unfortunately, I canceled my VO Journey Elite because I'm on the West Coast and could rarely catch the lives." Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest issues. Although I'm also on the West Coast, I don't think my class was so much, because my class was at oh gosh, it was like noon for me. So it was like, and I'm in Pacific time currently. So my classes were like in the middle of the day. So those of the newer VOs that were still working full time had to try to catch me at lunch, or I think with all the different schedules, I think it was just too difficult for everyone to be able to join live and interact. So we're just trying some different stuff just to see if it helps for everyone. I don't know. We'll see. Robert says, "So for the Thursday Pikachu, can you say I'll be back?" For the Thursday Pikachu. For the Thursday Pikachu, I'll be back. I'm not sure what you mean, Robert. I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean. Thursday Pikachu, I'll be back. You're referring to Anthony, but Thursday and I'll be back? I'm not sure. Louis says, "Hey, Goldie in the house." Yeah, we got a lot of repeat. I'm recognizing a lot of names, so I thank you all for taking the time to join the conversation. I appreciate your time. Kim says, "Yes, I can imagine it's difficult to find times with people from all over and different working schedules. Thanks for the update." It is. It's tough. It's tough to try to be available at the right time for everybody, especially, globally. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Louis says, "Please subscribe and give us a like." Technically, you're already subscribed if you're here commenting, because I had to make it subscribers only because we had some infiltrators. So, but a like would be great. Thank you. I would appreciate that. Thanks, Louis. Barb Cam says, "Hi, Angela. Here comes the frog." Darn it. When creating files for an audiobook, how do you send multiple files? Is it required to combine them, or do they combine them? Nope, you keep them separate. You don't combine them at all, nor does Audible. They stay as separate files. And if you're looking to upload multiple files directly to a client, meaning it's not ACX where you upload them to individual chapter sections, You can either drop them into a Google Drive folder and then share the link with the client. Same thing with Dropbox. Or you can use a service called WeTransfer, and then you upload all the files, and then you can send the client a link to access all those files. And they have, I think, 7 days, I think, to download them all, and then it just goes away. So that way it doesn't take up storage space on your Google Drive or your Dropbox. But there's a few different ways to do it, but you don't ever combine them. They stay separate. Grant Bunting says, how long does a book typically stay on ACX looking for a narrator? Is it a bad sign if a book is there for more than a couple of weeks? Not necessarily. Because again, the rights holder could have had something come up. They could have maybe got sick. Maybe they're attending to someone else who got sick. Maybe they're on vacation. I mean, who knows? It could be really anything. Or maybe they're just really, really particular about the voice that they're looking for and they're waiting for that right one to audition. It's really, really hard to say. But I don't think that's a bad sign at all. I mean, it could be a number of different reasons. So I would say throw in an audition and see what happens. VoiceOver Van Deen, oh no. Eustachian in UK are tubes running between middle ear and the back of the throat. When inflamed, they can click and my mic picks it up. Same as ear pops on a plane. Oh. Okay. Running between the middle ear and the back of the throat. Interesting. Thank you for that. Katie says, hello, what type of notes would be useful to make on the text you are going to read, voice over record? Type of notes would be useful to make on the text you're going to read. Oh, you mean like if if there's a script that you're going through, you could mark it up by adding a comma, omitting a comma, bolding a word if it needs more emphasis, or underlining it. It depends on if you're using like a digital format of the script or a printed version. Either way, you can use some sort of an application, or I guess if it's a digital version, you can use some sort of an application to highlight text. It's useful for audiobooks because you can highlight text you can assign everyone a color if you wanted to. If there are multiple characters that you have different voices for, you can make the main character pink, and then you can make, someone else blue, someone else is green, someone else is yellow. That way, as you're reading through, your eye catches the text or the highlight, and then you can right away go, okay, this is a different character. Or again, you can bold a word, underline a word, add a comma. You can write in notes about giving more emphasis here, or whatever it is that you need to see at a glance while you're narrating the book or narrating the script. And if you have interpreted the script to have a very particular meaning and or a very particular audience, you can leave yourself notes as to think of the children or whatever it is. Sound heartbroken. Make yourself notes so you remember what you need to portray or how you need to deliver that script. Make whatever notes you want to, however you're going to remember to help you get through reading that script appropriately, if that makes sense. Rustic Hillbilly is here. Good morning. I have Navage, and it's not uncomfortable. A couple of the family members use it regularly. I think you mentioned that before. Maybe it was you that I was thinking of when Navage popped into my head, because I think you told me that before. It kind of freaks me out. I don't know if I would use it. Robert says, for keeping notes and organized, I used Google Keep Notes. No matter what software, I suggest keeping it on your phone. Everyone keeps their phone and no additional stuff to keep track of. That's a good point. For me personally, I like the good old pen and paper. I have legal pads that I keep in here and my agenda book, and I just make notes. If it's not in front of me and I don't have to go hunting through an application for it, the better. If it's, in my face right now and I can write down stuff as I go, I'm trying to just keep things as simple as possible. So for me, I like just good old pen and paper. But if you like to keep digital information, and not only that, but I mean, you could keep it from um, you could have notes on your desktop that translate or have them accessible on your phone or whatever digital device that you're using. So that's a good idea too. That way they're kind of everywhere that you are. It's a good idea, Robert. Eileen says, "Hi, Angela. Thank you so much for your videos. When auditioning on ACX, where will there always be a sample to read, or should I have a demo sample ready just in case they don't have a sample to read?" You could. And the situations that I came upon on ACX where they didn't upload a sample, oh gosh, here comes the frog. You can view the title on Amazon, right? On ACX, there's a little link at the bottom where you can view the title on Amazon. So what I would do is go on Amazon and view the Kindle version so you get the look inside option. You know how you can look inside the book and just kind of read through a few pages? Do that and pick a section that you can narrate and then submit that as your audition. That's typically what I do in those situations. If they have nothing to upload, I'll go, it takes an extra, 3 or 4 seconds to do, and I think doing that is really, that extra step to me would mean a lot as a rights holder. Whether they did it intentionally or not, maybe it could have been just a boo-boo. Maybe they think that something is uploaded, or maybe it just didn't go through. But the fact that you went through that process to do that for them, I think would speak volumes. It would to me. I would be very impressed that they did that instead of just saying, "Hey, there's nothing here," and moved on. So that's what I would do. Louis says, "You mentioned you had an Oculus Quest 2. Did I? Did I? Maybe I did. Do you think you'll ever hold seminars for the metaverse?" I'd love to join your seminars in VR. That would be awesome. That would be terrifying. Could you imagine? Oh my gosh. But yes, we do. And I don't know, but you always have the most provocative questions, Louis. You get the factory in there. You get the hamsters running around in there. I love it. That's a great question. I don't know. It's never crossed my mind before. You have such the best questions, Louis. Interesting. I'm going to try to stay on track now. Put the blinders on. Focus. Robert says, "I'll be back like Arnold's cat." Oh, yeah. I know I'll be back, but you plan to return on occasion, so I'll for the academy. I got you. I'll be back. It was probably nothing like the Terminator, but gosh. Rustic Hillbilly says, "Also, we were in Arizona and got the best manzanita honey at a small Mexican restaurant in Florence." I can think of quite a few places where I've seen honey stands, and Arizona does have some really great honey. But I think in order to be helpful to you, I think it has to be within is it a 5-mile radius or a 10-mile radius? So long story short, I don't think I've seen a honey stand within a 10-mile radius of me because I'm sort of like in a dense area. So I don't know if there's a whole lot of beekeepers in this area. I don't know. I mean, it's still worth a try, even if it's not within a 10-mile radius for sure. Goodness. Goldie's Adventures After 50. Yes, I got it on Amazon when 3-digit heat hit here in Oregon. I use it for my walks too. I wear it backwards when I sit, as the back has 4 vertical, and I only need 2 on the back when sitting multiple uses. That's really cool. And that's a great idea. I'm going to have to search for one of those an ice pack vest. God, I love these. You guys are so full of great information. Klaus says, "Hi, Angela. Have you ever had a client who paid more than agreed because he was so happy?" Yes. I've had clients that perhaps, if a client, for example, on Fiverr, you know how they can send you a custom offer request? They basically outline what they need, what their budget is, and how quick of a turnaround they need. If your rate comes in below their budget, I just submit whatever my rate is, even if it's under their budget, because chances are there could be a time when someone will double check you, and you don't want to sit there with egg on your face looking like, a greedy, because you're using their budget instead of your own accurate rate. So I always use my rate because that's just who I am. I have integrity and honesty, and you do what you want to do, but to me, I think that makes me just feel better to submit to the client what my actual rates are. And if they come in under the client's budget and they say, "Great, let's get started," they those people particularly end up tipping me the difference, of whatever their budget was. Because in one respect, that makes sense because that's how much they had allotted for the voice actor. So they're going to give you what they had already allotted for this particular project. So if you think about it, if you've ever been like a project manager or someone who manages several different things going on, if it's a video production company, you have this much for the video, you have this much for music, you have this much for the voice actor, right? Everything is allotted for different places. So a lot of those instances, even if I come in under rate, they'll just give me the whole thing. And sometimes they even tip me above and beyond that. So to answer your question, yes, I find that, again, what you put out is what you get back. And that's just good juju to me, right? Is to give them my actual rate. Most of the time, they just give me the whole thing anyway, whatever they budgeted. And sometimes I've had just normal people tip me 50%, 100%. Absolutely. Customer service is definitely going to pay off for you. And not only in your reputation on whatever platform that you're on, but also with all of the clients that you work for. And then referrals to boot. If you treat that client like absolute gold and go above and beyond and over deliver, all of those things matter. All of those things will definitely pay off for you in the future. They're all just people like you and me trying to get a project done. Take care of them, especially if they're repeat clients. If they come back to you time and time again, and maybe the second or third time they're a little bit tight on budget, be flexible. Stuff happens, right? Stuff happens to all of us. It's good. I think it's good. It's good, Juju. Oh, hey, Louie. I'm sorry I missed this one. Thank you for the super chat. I sent you the email last week. Last week? Good golly, Miss Molly. All right, I'll have to go through my emails and see what happened to you, Louie. Oh my gosh. Google, get your stuff together, Google. Goldie's Adventures After 50 says, I have Kindle Unlimited, and I've been using it to preview books I am interested in. Auditioning, it helps. A few I decided to pass after a few chapters, and others I was more excited about. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. And using that look inside is another thing that I do to get a good idea of how it's written. I mean, sometimes when you're auditioning for a book, they give you the rights holder will upload just a excerpt. Sometimes they'll upload a couple of pages, maybe an entire chapter. Sometimes they'll give you the whole dang book. I've seen it multiple ways. But if you can read a little bit of this to yourself, you don't have to audition with all of the text they sent you. I think 2 minutes, a minute or two is sufficient for an audition. But if they give you more context to use to kind of figure out how this should be presented or delivered with your voiceover, with your narration, then that is going to be beneficial. Not only that, but you can get a really good understanding of how it's written. If it's, you know, if it might not be something super interesting to you, or if it's not written in the way that you would like, if it's got profanity. There was a question I had recently from someone watching, I think she's a subscriber now, but she asked about how do you avoid profanity? It's hard to say because it's not, I mean, apart from asking the rights holder directly, you would have to say, hey, Mr. Rights holder, could you tell me if there's any profanity in this book at all? And they would have to be able to tell you, but there's not a way to filter that when you're looking for particular books. So having a little bit more context and then looking in the look inside or reading everything that they gave you is definitely going to help you make the decision on whether or not you want to audition for that book. So that's a great point. Thank you for saying that. Danelle says, get a sample of the Kindle book. I got more character insight from them. Yep. Regarding the audition text a couple times. Absolutely. That's what I was just saying. That's exactly what I mean. Yep. Danelle then goes on to say, check local health food and produce shops for local honey. Oh, that's a great point. That's a great point. I don't have any like farmers markets nearby. I'm telling you, it's nothing but like houses and businesses nearby me. I'll have to keep looking though. Hat Powser says, ooh, just got here. Thank you for joining. First time seeing alive. Are you an ACX Audible narrator as well as a VO actor? Yes. If so, do most transactions usually go smoothly there, or are rights holders just generally a PITA? You mean on ACX? All of the transactions there have gone very smoothly. You have to set the expectation up front. For example, if you're doing a per finished hour, if you're working for a PFH rate and not royalty share, set the expectation up front. And I recommend that you do this and tell them that you collect 50% up front. And that will do two things. That 50% up front will generally keep the scammers away because they don't want to pay anything, right? And two, that will cover your time in prepping the initial read through, maybe even recording, the first 15 minutes. If the rights holder then changes their mind or wants to pump the brakes a little bit and wait for whatever reason, maybe they had a family emergency and something came up and they need to put a hold on it, that at least will cover the time that you've already spent. And then the other 50% would be due when the production is done. It doesn't have to be 50%. It could be 25%. You can break it into milestones if you want to. But I've never had anybody give me a hard time about any of the transactions. And I think it is mostly due to the fact that I set that expectation up front. And I mentioned that at the very beginning when I submitted Audition, and then the rights holder will reach out and say, hey, I think you're perfect for this, whatever their message is, and they want to move forward. That is when you say, this is how I do my business. I collect 50% up front, and it would be this much. And then I can have this. That's when you discuss like time frames and stuff like that. And I think doing that has kept my process very transparent. It establishes trust. It establishes credibility. It does all of these things for you and protects your time and keeps out the scammers. So I think doing that and setting the expectation up front is definitely going to help with that. But no, I've never had an issue with any transactions on ACX. Oh, okay. Now I hear you talking about books. We talk about books a lot here. Okay, I just joined an ACX Audible Facebook group, and there are constant posts about RHs wanting redos of things for free and all kinds of unreasonable requests, not getting paid, etc. I'm probably in the same group that you're referring to, and I've never had any of those experiences. But if you think about it, and this goes with social media also, most people are inclined to share the negative stuff than they are to share the positive stuff, the everyday positive stuff. So you see a whole lot more of the complaints, the the transactions that went bad. You see a whole lot more of those, and not so much of the everyday wins. Everything going smoothly as it should. So keep in mind that that's not standard. That's not the norm. That's just what you see more of. So but redos of things for free and all of that, revisions are part of the audiobook process. However, doing some of these things up front, like uh, if there's character voices that maybe the author's not happy with, developing those character voices up front and then getting them approved by the author. The tone and pace is approved in the first 15-minute read. If there's anything that you have questions about, if it's about a fantasy land and there's fantasy names and there's names you've never seen before, ask the rights holder for phonetic spelling. How do I pronounce this name? If you get all of your questions answered up front and not just wing it, that might help to reduce some of the revisions that come along later. But unreasonable requests and not getting paid, I've never had any of those. Um, I think the only thing close to unreasonable would be if a client has a 10,000 word book, which equates to roughly an hour of finished audio, but they want the audiobook to be 3 hours long. There's just no way to math that. The longest amount of silence that you can have in a book is 5 seconds. There's no way to create 2 additional hours, with 5-second intervals. There's just not. So, I don't know. But no, I've never experienced that at all. JCCAOL says, on YouTube, there's a series of videos on Game of Thrones histories and lore read by the actors in the series. Very good if you're looking for inspiration. Hopefully this is done for House of the Dragon. Are they animated? I've seen a YouTube channel that has something similar to this, but it's like an animated series. I wonder if we're talking about the same things, but that sounds very interesting. Can you tell me the channel name? I'm kind of, in case you couldn't tell, I'm kind of a Game of Thrones dork, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. Klaus says, in a few days, I'm going to check out the Sennheiser 416 for some days. It has to compete with my Shop's mics. I've never heard, or maybe I have, and I just didn't know it was. But I can tell you, I really like my 416. I've never had a shop. Is it Shops? Shopes? I've never had one of those mics. I've never had the pleasure of hearing one that I know of. So I don't know how good they sound. It sounds like they do. I'm guessing they sound really good, but I can tell you, I've been super happy with my 416. Hat Powser says, thanks. You're welcome. Robert says, a way to give value to complaints. Site has 200 customers and 100 complaints. Maybe not a good place. Has 100,000 users and 200 complaints. Maybe good, or at least an okay site. Yeah, and I think with the number of people on social media that just get on there just to complain has also grown, because it's attention, it's monetization, it's ad placement, it's just making content, unfortunately. So you really have to just take everything you hear anymore with a little grain of salt and decide on your own conclusion on whether it's something to believe or not. It's difficult, but you really have to use your own intuition, insight, experience, common sense in some instances to make your own decisions about things. Agreed. Eileen says, thank you for all the information about ACX. You are welcome. That is why I have these Q&As, because in the beginning, there's just so much that you just don't know. I mean, we've all been there. We all started at 0, right? We all had to learn these things. So, my opinion, there's no silly question. There's no stupid question. It's just a question. And a question that you have is just as important, to answer whether or not I've already answered it 50 million times. It's still a question. It's still a question that you have. And that is the reason that I do these. So I can help you guys move forward. And if this is what you want to do, then make it a reality. Hat Pauser says, what mic are you using? This is a Sennheiser MKH 416. It's the 416 we were just talking about. Is it pricey? This microphone is roughly about $1,000. So it's in the mid-level range as far as microphones go. I was looking at getting a Neumann U87, and those those are about 3,500. I just couldn't pull the trigger on something that expensive. I just couldn't do it. Not to mention, there's nothing wrong with my 416. I'm very happy with it. So why would I go and just drop a bunch of money? I mean, why? I couldn't validate that in my head. So I did, however, get a really great mic from a relatively newer company that I just did a video on, the comparison between the 416, my Sennheiser 416, and the Lewitt 440. And the Lewitt is actually a really great sounding mic. And I didn't change any settings from the 416. So I think the Lewitt, the way that it was set, was a little bit bright for me and very, very sensitive. So it picked up my breaths a whole lot more. It was very crisp sounding. I actually liked it. And I think with a little bit of tweaking of the knobs, it probably would sound even better. But that Lewitt, with as great as it sounded, was under $300. I mean, that's a great price point for a great sounding mic. So that's something else to consider. And just if you're new here, if you go to my website, voiceoverangela.com, I have a tab that's called VO Gear. And on that page, I have a ton of stuff that I recommend. If you're just getting started out and you're like, there's just so much stuff, I don't know. I have listings there of a handful of different mics that you can check out, a handful of different interfaces, headphones, moving blankets, books, stuff that I recommend. Even this guy, this light that I have, I have links to all of that stuff on there to help you, hopefully help you maybe narrow down your search and get something to get started with. John says, Angela, how would I go about outing a shop on my website? Do you use a third party for your shop? Oh, putting a shop? I use Wix for my website, and Wix so far, get a little excited. So far, there isn't anything on Wix that I haven't been able to do. So you could have like a Printify shop and link it directly to your Wix. And if you go to my website and you see that I have a shop, on that shop, I have t-shirts that I've designed and stuff like that, mouse pads that I've designed, notebooks that I've designed that say, punch fear in the face, or, I talk to myself in a padded room all day and get paid for it, stuff like that. I have bunches of stuff that I've created because I wanted to wear voiceover shirts. I wanted to tell the world what I did and market myself while I'm out and about. Anyway, I'm getting off the track, but if you have Wix, and I think most others nowadays, you can actually link a Printify shop to, or Shopify even. You might have to look into what can be integrated into what, but it is definitely doable for sure. And yes, I do have one. Robert says $35K for a mic. What's the ROI? 3,500. Did I say 35K? 3,500. $3,500 for the Neumann U87. It's a legendary mic. Klaus says, go for is it Shops or Shopes? V4 instead of the Neumann U87. I compared both. Interesting. I'm going to write that down. Hold on. Hold, please. Is it Shopes or Shop? How do you pronounce that? I've never heard of this one. See, I learn something new every day too. You never keep learning. Hat Powser says, "You sound wonderful as it is. How much does it matter? What's your favorite cheapie?" Well, thank you. It does matter in how you sound going forward. I mean, you can start out with whatever mic you want, and mics these days have come a long, long way in sounding a whole lot better than they used to. And I'm sure you could say the opposite for some other ones, but um, having a reliable, rich sounding mic for me is made all the difference for me. I started out with a Blue Yeti, which I think is fine for audiobook narration if you just want to do it on the side. But once you start to get into broadcast voiceover type work, you're definitely going to want a nicer mic for that kind of stuff. But audiobook narration, you can get away with a less costly mic. I started out with a Blue Yeti, and then I got the Rode NT1A, and then I bought my Sennheiser about 2.5 years ago, maybe more, and I've loved it ever since. But my favorite cheapie, I would have to say, it depends on what your definition. Let me go back to your question. It depends on what your definition of cheapie is. If you're looking for a good entry level mic, I think most of those you're going to find are about $200 to $300 for a good entry level mic. And that Lewitt 440 that I was just talking about, that's Lewitt, I believe, is a great entry level mic for that price point, I think. You're answering these questions as I type them. It's okay. I'm a mind reader. I mean, it's your first time. You didn't know that, but I am a mind reader. Kidding. JCCAOL says, "It is animated. You could get the whole playlist. It is called Game of Thrones Histories and Lore Complete." That being said, your thoughts on House of the Dragon? I haven't started. I don't have HBO. I binged the entire 8 seasons of Game of Thrones on a free trial subscription years ago. And then after they all came out on DVD, I bought the whole DVD set and now I have it. I've told you guys I'm frugal. I don't want to have to pay for anything if I don't have to. Although once I heard House of the Dragon was coming out, I really considered it. And my son just chastised me. He's like, "How can you call yourself a Game of Thrones fan and not pony up the money to get HBO to watch House of the Dragon, your favorite house to boot?" He's like, "What's wrong with you?" So I have not seen any of it. So no spoilers. No spoilers. I'm considering it. I'm considering getting HBO and getting caught up. I know. I know. Hat says, "And apparently it doesn't delete them for you, even if I delete them." It's okay. I think it's my streaming, my broadcast software. It's completely different from YouTube. It's not YouTube directly, so it's feeding everything to YouTube. So I think it's, because it's a different platform, it's okay. I don't mind. Making Money Ideas Passive Income says, "I have a Yeti, but it picks up background noise." Yeah, it's a great microphone to start with, but it's not the best if your space is noisy. Let me just back up and say, if your space is noisy, whatever mic you choose is going to pick that up as well. And even if you had a Sennheiser 416 that's designed to only a shotgun mic, this design is meant to only pick up what's directly in front of it to reduce ambient noises, or really any mic for that matter. If your if your room, your recording space has noise, whatever mic you choose is just going to accentuate that noise. So your best bet, no matter what mic you choose, is to treat your space. Make sure that you don't have any flat, smooth surfaces in your space like walls, desks, windows, anything that are reflective, because your voice is a vibration. And when you speak, it bounces around, creating echo. And your mic will pick all of that up as it's recording. So whatever mic you choose is probably going to pick up background noises. Some are a little bit more forgiving than others. True, like the Sennheiser 416. However, that's pretty much the case. So my recommendation is if you're just getting started out, make sure that your space is treated properly. Reduce any kind of reflective surfaces in your space. Your floor, if you have a hardwood floor, you have a high ceiling, all of that stuff has to be taken into consideration for audio quality in the end. But that Yeti it worked okay for me in the beginning. It's really just a plug and play. It's really super easy. Klaus says the SE8 by Electronics is very transparent and natural sounding for the price. Yes, that is I think I'm more familiar with the R series. Wasn't there an R? I'm just drawing a blank. I know what you're talking about. I know a few people who have a mic by. Oh, you know what? No. I think I'm thinking of Electro Voice is what I'm thinking of. Oh, wait. You added something else in here. The SE8 by SE Electronics is very transparent and natural sounding for the price. Look at you coming up with all of the mics I've never heard of before. SE Electronics. Electronics. Oh no. It scrolled up. SE8. SE8. Okay. Okay. R. Fisher says, do experienced narrators like yourself audition for the 50 to 100 PFH books on ACX, or do you only go after the higher paying books? I'm wondering who I'm competing against in the 50 to 100 category. 50 to 100, I would say, are generally going to be the newer narrators dipping their toes in to see if this is something that they like. Or someone who does lots of smaller books, I would have to guess. But that's generally, I think, who you're going to be working with in that price point. But to be honest, the last couple times that I've auditioned for a book on ACX was to record a video. I haven't auditioned on ACX in a long time. I do pretty well with direct clients, with authors who find me directly, or on places like Upwork and Fiverr. I think I currently have 4 books in queue. One was she found me on YouTube, believe it or not, and the other 3 were from Fiverr. So I haven't had to go audition for a book in a while. But to answer your question, when and if I do, I generally go for the ones that are 2 to 300 PFH or higher, because that is my chosen rate. My chosen rate is $260 per finished hour. Hat Pauser says, making money ideas, passive income. I'm sitting over a freeway in Tijuana with the noisiest neighbors and the thinnest walls in the world. Oh my goodness. Yes, you definitely have a challenge. Best of luck to you. Robert says, Booth Junkie did a comparison between a Cinco D2 and a Sennheiser 416. That D2 is crazy how close it sounds to a 416 and a fraction of the cost. Yep. Almost no difference in sound. The Cinco D1 is less sensitive overall, but has a slightly better low end and is much less. Yeah, this Sennheiser 416 is about $1,000. The Cinco D2 is very, very close, and it is, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but it's like $200 or $300. So it's like a fraction of the price, and it sounds pretty close to the same. Oh, Goldie's Adventures After 50 sent me a super sticker. Thank you so much. Let me see if can I show that? I can't see what the sticker is, but thank you for that on StreamYard. I can't see the actual sticker, and I want to I have to, can I go over to YouTube? Hold on. I want to see. Can I see? Oh, it's a little heart. Thanks. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You guys rock. Thank you so much. And now I lost my place. Gosh. Where was I? Okay. Oh, okay. So, okay. Yeah, she's answering, making money. Oh, wow. I've been there. I know how that feels. Yeah, that's rough to have all of those all that noise and have thin walls. More power to you, girl. Greg O'Donohue says, I finished an ACX book 4 weeks ago, but it still shows as locked for review. RH is non-responsive. Any suggestion? I'm hoping that it's just a matter of them maybe maybe I don't hope that, but maybe they're on vacation or sick or something. I don't know. But what you could do is you could reach out to ACX, make them aware of the situation at the very least, start a paper trail. And maybe they could also offer a nudge or a reminder email to the rights holder. But other than that, I don't know if there's much you can do other than wait. But do all that you can do. If you've been communicating or trying to communicate with the rights holder for a while and nothing is happening, I would definitely get ACX involved, at least to start a paper trail that you're at least trying to finish this project. Sorry that happened to you. That stinks. Goldie's Adventures After 50. Curious, what do you use to edit your videos for YouTube? Your tips helped me go for it. Your tips helped me go for it. And you're a narrator. Your tips helped me go for it. Thank you so much. For the lives, I use StreamYard to stream and to have all these cool little, graphics and stuff. For the ones that are created, recorded, and then edited and then posted as separate videos, I use Premiere Pro, which is an Adobe product. If you have Adobe Audition, you can probably add some of the other Adobe apps for maybe 15, 20 extra bucks a month. And I think for me, I did that because it was a great investment for me, doing voiceover and then learning how to work with video in any respect, I think is going to be useful, not only in syncing voiceover to video or adding voiceover to video, those sorts of things. Learning all of that stuff is definitely going to do nothing but help you in your business. But Premiere Pro is what I use to edit. Christine Hauser says, I am so excited to convert a closet into a vocal booth. I ordered acoustic foam pads to be delivered tomorrow. Cheap. I realized really quick that this is going to be the only way. Or moving blankets. Moving blankets, even if you find like used ones on OfferUp or Macari or something like that, be sure to shake them out really good first before you hang them up. But the moving blankets are thick. They cover lots of real estate in the space that you're in. So, and they're relatively cost effective. I find that the moving blankets have really helped me to kind of reduce the reverb in here quite a bit in the small little space. But acoustic foam pads can be also tricky to hang. I have found that instead of trying to, and when we say acoustic foam pads, they're generally like these little tiles that have the waves in them. I have a few over here, but they're just out of camera range. But they're hard to mount to the wall. They tend to fall off. So what I have found is that you take some large poster boards and then you spray adhesive, those little tiles, onto the poster boards and then hang the poster boards to your walls. That way, when you take them down, all you have to do is fill a couple of holes instead of trying to scrape adhesive and foam pieces off your walls. Just food for thought for anyone thinking of going that route. Danelle said, I saw somewhere recently that the D1 doesn't look back, in case that means anything to you. Doesn't look back. I'm not sure what that means. The D1, I guess you're referring to the mic. The Cinco mic doesn't look back. I'm not sure what that means, Danelle. Could you elaborate, maybe? Help me. Making money ideas, passive income. My space is treated. I have the acoustic panels, soundproof blankets. It does help, but to a certain point. I live in an apartment and these walls are thin. My neighbors downstairs are so noisy. Yet treating your space and soundproofing are way two different things. Soundproofing is dang near impossible unless you have a booth with double, triple walls on it that can, completely eliminate any noise from outside. But treating your space is not going to, we're not so much looking for soundproofing, but we're actually looking to reduce reverb and improve the sound in your recording space. Having noisy neighbors is not going to be conducive to a great working environment. And for that, I apologize. That really stinks. But treating your space and then having hopefully a rare quiet moment will be good to get things done for your voiceover business. Voyager says, "Hi Angela, what was your training journey like? Did you take classes, read books? I know you mentioned you had a coach as well. My training journey was basically for the first year and a half maybe was just all self-taught because again, I don't like to spend money if I don't have to. So I soaked in all the YouTube channels. I read every blog. I followed other voice actors and just soaked in everything that they had to say. But then, as I said, about a year and a half in, I started to plateau and I felt like I could go further. And I was also planning to go full time. So I knew that I needed to sort of up my game before I did that. So that's when I reached out to my coach and is still a good friend of mine, Anthony Pica. And I worked with him for about a year. We met weekly for a year and it was well worth it. I feel so much more confident. He showed me so much stuff, how to break some bad habits that I was in. It was definitely helpful in moving my career forward, is to having someone else to not only show you what you could do, what you could undo, and where you could go and how to get there, you know, just accountability, someone to help you to stay accountable in the things that need to be done. And maybe just to share with you some ideas that they have or that they have done that might also apply to your situation and end up helping you. So having a coach is definitely helpful. Absolutely. But other than that, it was all pretty much self-taught because I'm stubborn and hard-headed. Yeah. But I definitely recommend having a coach for anybody, training of some sort. It's going to do nothing but help you. It's an investment in yourself and in your business. Sean Lester 007 says, I started with a $40 toner and have upgraded to a Rode USB, then a Zoom XLR for 120, and now use the Stellar for 200. Haven't been able to justify spending big money yet. And I think the Stellar brand of microphones, if I'm not mistaken, are also, much like the Lewitt, relatively new. Is it like an Aston? Because Stellar, or is Stellar the make? There are a handful of new manufacturers of mics on the market that are really, really good for their price point, and that is one of them. I recognize the name Stellar. So that would be another one. I think that might be one of the ones that's on my site. I'm telling you, my memory is just garbage. But yeah, you're right. There's mics have come a long, long way. And just even the last few years, a lot of the entry level, are really, really good. Better than they used to be. Hat Powser says, how about books that have been on the ACX site for a long time, like since last year? Is there any point in auditioning for those, do you think? How stale do they typically get? If it's been there for over a year, I personally probably wouldn't bother with it. It might just be the book that time forgot at this point. Something might have happened to the rights holder. You never know. But if it's been there that long, I probably would just not. I wouldn't audition. No. Anything over 4 or 5 months, maybe, I think at the most. Masonry Construction says, Samsung Q2U is an excellent budget mic, well under $100, USB and XLR ports. A great way to get started and make some money while you figure things out. Yeah, good point. Gosh, and there's so many names that I'm not recognizing these days. I think I need to get back into my microphone game and start to learn some of these new mics because I only know what I know, right? I need to get out there and probably acquaint myself with some of these newer mics that are um, at a lower entry level price point that are just as good as some of the others in a higher price point. So thank you guys for bringing all of these to my attention. Robert Palmore says moving blankets are rated by pound per dozen blankets. More pounds is better, but Harbor Freight POS blankets do work. Just use 2 or more layers. I've I don't my blankets are not from Harbor Freight. They are moving blankets that I got on Amazon. I think those are actually linked on my VO Gear page. And my blankets are great. I think this is the best my room has ever sounded. Oh, Danelle says loop back. I got you. Loop back. I don't have a need for I really don't with my DAW, there really isn't any need for my mic to do anything other than to record me. You know, I know some mics have lots of features on them. There's a pad sometimes, there's a high pass filter or extra gain and boost. There's all these things that mics can do, and I don't ask anything of my mic other than just to record me. You know, I can do everything else that I need to do in my DAW. So I don't really look for those additional type of features in microphones, so I don't really pay much attention to them, unfortunately. But if that is something that is important to you, then you might want to consider that also in I believe that was the D1 from Cinco, right, Danelle? Uh, dang it, I keep double clicking. Robert says Stellar X2 is awesome. I have one, and Booth Junkie loves it. Great microphone for a great price. And for those of you that don't know Booth Junkie is another channel here on YouTube that is just Mike Delgadio is awesome. He does a lot of comparisons and explains technology, new interfaces that come out, stuff like that. He does a lot of great information. Definitely check out Booth Junkie here on YouTube. Kirk says, I love my Aston Spirit. It's great for my voice type, around 350. Creamy sound. Creamy. I don't know if I've ever heard of that word used to describe microphone sound. It's a new one. I'll have to use it. Buttery, I think, is what I've used to describe my voice once, but not a microphone. Creamy. So the Aston Spirit is creamy for those of you that Oh, Sean, thank you so much. I didn't see that pop up. What is going on? How come it only shows me some stuff but not all stuff? Thank you, Sean, for the super chat. I appreciate that. You guys. Ben Cross says, I'll throw in the Shure PGA 181, a relatively flat response for only $99, brand new. The Shure mics I've heard a lot of great stuff about. I've never personally used a Shure mic, but I've heard some really great stuff about most of the Shure line for voiceover and podcasting for vocals, right? If you're recording vocals mainly. I keep double clicking. Stop it. Tim Larkfield says, my DAW is Ableton Live Lite. It came free with my Scarlett, but I'm having issues with it setting off my laptop fan super loud. Do you have any tips for dealing with this and or recommending a new DAW? Unfortunately, Tim, I don't think it's your DAW. I think any DAW is going to be very CPU intensive, which is going to make your computer hot, which is going to make your fans run. I think for you, you may just need to move your fan outside your room or as far away from your mic as possible. Same issue. I started out with a laptop, and then I ended up having to move the laptop outside of my recording studio and then run an external monitor, a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, and then use those with my computer outside the room because the fans were just incessant all the time. And then I moved on to a little mini desktop, which was fine. My ideology was that it was fully customizable, that I could add stuff to it. But in reality, it was just too small to add the video cards and everything that I eventually would need. So my beast sits outside my studio and everything just runs super long cords from Amazon. You can find them for just about any kind of application. Run all of the cords under my door and into my studio. So I think for you, it just might be a fan noise issue and you need to move your computer outside your room, I think is what you need to do, is from what it sounds like. It's not so much your DAW. But if you're looking for DAW suggestions, I always suggest Adobe Audition. I like it. I like it. I'll tell anybody. I'll say it loud and proud. Love Adobe Audition. Robert says, please do check out Booth Junkie. Yep. Robert says, outside the room or a fanless computer. I've heard all of this talk about fanless computers, and maybe they just didn't exist in places that I could find 2 years ago when I built my computer. I don't know. But I can't vouch for a fanless computer because I've never heard one. But I mean, in theory, if it doesn't have a fan, it won't make noise, right? But for me, I just move all of the noise-making things outside of my recording space. Charlie says, hi. Hello. Thanks. I'm glad you could be here. Thank you for being here. And I think this will be our last comment for today. We've been on for an hour and a half. Goodness. Ain Go. Am I saying that right? Hi there. Nice to be here. I'm recording with an old microphone, Behringer B2 Pro, but it still sounds very warm. What do you think of this mic? I've never personally used this type of mic, but if you have the ability to go into a instrument shop or a guitar center, a place that has microphones for sale where you can test them, that would be ideal. It's really hard to say. I'm not an audio engineer, so I don't really have a great ear for what microphone you would sound better with. So if you're looking for a suggestion on a new mic, to be honest, I have heard 9 times out of 10, people will say that the Lewitt, the one that I tested that I've been talking about earlier, the Lewitt 440 sounds great with their voice. It's a little bright for me because my voice is a little bit lower, I think, or maybe just my settings were not correctly set for the mic. But it's really hard to tell for me. I don't have that ear to say, you need a Sennheiser 416. I'm just not that person. And although if you're looking for some suggestions, I think what you could do if you wanted to employ the wisdom of an audio engineer, that's probably something that I would do. If you can't get to a like an instrument shop and test drive some microphones, you could ask someone who has the ear, like an audio engineer, on what they would recommend for your voice. I'm just not that person. I couldn't tell you, to be honest. Klaus says, the MacBook Air is fanless. I love it. Thanks for your time, Angela. See you soon. Yeah, I've heard that some of the Apple computers are fanless. But I'm a PC person. Don't hate me. Robert said they've been around for a while, but the older ones weren't very good. Nowadays, the fanless computers are coming into their own. I definitely believe it, especially now that everybody's at home working. Not everybody, but you know what I mean. A lot of people are at home working remotely and need quiet computers. I imagine they are definitely on the rise. Christine says, my husband uses Reaper, so that's what I went with for my DAW. There's complete training videos included, and I have assistance. Win-win. Absolutely. Absolutely, that's a win-win. I've heard really great things about Reaper, too. I know Booth Junkie and a few others have used it and said it's fabulous. Having somebody who already knows the platform and can tell you all about it is great. Most of the DAWs come with a free trial and training videos like tutorials. And YouTube, of course, don't ever underestimate the power of YouTube, has videos upon videos upon videos about just about any DAW that you can think of. So there's always going to be information and training for you, no matter what DAW that you choose. But if you have someone at home that is already familiar with the DAW, that's just going to be an absolute bonus. But yeah, I've heard great things about Reaper, and I personally use Adobe, but if I didn't, I think Reaper would probably be the choice. Hat says, thank you so much for all your help and advice. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Tim, thanks, Angela, and everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, everybody saying goodbye. Robert, thank you, Angela. Have a great day. You too, Robert. Thank you so much. Charlie says, I must say I do appreciate your videos. They are very helpful. Thank you. Well, I must say thank you. Thank you for joining. Jack-o'-lantern says, I got Rode NT1 for my voiceover jobs. I think it sounds amazing and warm. Yeah, I really liked my NT1. I had one for a while, and then I got this bug to get this guy. And I think that's about my price point. I think that's my ceiling on what I'm willing to pay. But you know what? It's been worth every penny. It's made me so much more than what I paid for it. So I cannot complain at all. Definitely got my money's worth out of this microphone. Kirk says, don't forget to like the live. Don't forget to like the live, guys. Thank you so much. Barb says, have a great day. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for joining. Thank you, guys. Larry says, hi, Angela. Larry from Seattle here. Have really appreciated your vids and insight. They've been invaluable for my business growth. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad. Ain Go Nuendo is another perfect sound recording application that I have been using for more than 15 years. Okay, I got to write that one down. Nuendo? I have to check that out. Thank you for sharing. Robert says, bang for the buck Reaper is impossible to beat. Yeah, and then Reaper, frog. And Reaper is a buyout. Basically, it's not a subscription. You don't have to pay annually or monthly. You buy it once, and then you have lifetime access to it. Whereas Audition and some of the other ones, you have to pay a subscription, where it's monthly, a yearly, so on and so forth. But I could totally see bang for the buck Reaper being it's a great deal. You can't beat that deal. Goldie's Adventures After 50, Leanie B has great is it Leanie B or is it Larry? I can't think of the name now. Leanie B has great audio engineering advice on YouTube and does consults for treatments and DAW help for individual voice and space. And so does Tim Tippett. I've personally used Tim Tippett to help me with Audition and creating presets and the like. And that was a absolutely invaluable investment into my business. Hat Pauser says, by the way, at Christine Hauser, my last name is actually Hauser, spelled the same way as you. Aw, small world. Very cool. Larry says, Audition and my 416 heaven. Same, brother. Same, brother. Making money ideas. I need to put my glasses on. Passive income. What's the price range for Reaper? Robert, if you're still here, could you tell me what the current price range is for Reaper? I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it's very, very cost effective as far as DAWs go. Or Google it. Look reaper.com and see how much it is. That would probably be the best way to get the most accurate cost. Ain Go? Well, I have worked with movie dubbing for a big TV here in my country for more than 10 years, but I was just saying what I'm using in my personal recording booth at the TV studios. I've had lots of mics. Gotcha. So you've got to play with a lot of microphones. Most of us don't. Well, I take that back. Some voice actors, it's like tattoos, right? Once you get one, you start to collect them. I know a few voice actors that have a number of mics to choose from, and they would tell you that they all have different purposes. But I think it's more of a collector thing. I'm not that guy. I don't have a collector mentality, although I have pops and stuff in here, or Funko Pops. But stuff like that, I'm not really I don't really collect microphones. Does everyone hate Audacity? No. I know a lot of voice actors that still use it and love it and swear by it, but I think it's a preference. It's just a preference thing. Whichever DAW speaks to you is what, because that is a tool that you're going to be using every hour of every day that you're doing voiceover or audiobook narration. You have to be comfortable with it. So I think it's just a preference, but I don't know anybody that hates Audacity. Masonry construction, $60. Okay, Reaper, $60. Commercial use is $225. So the most you're going to spend for Reaper is $225, right? And that is lifetime use. So that's actually a really good deal because in contrast, the Audition price for Adobe Audition for just Audition is, I believe, $22 a month. I have the whole suite, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's like $22 a month. So that adds up quickly. Ben says $60 if you're making less than 20K off of it. So I think, and eventually you will eclipse that. So I would probably just future-proof myself and just go for the 225 unless you can upgrade and then get it cheaper with the upgrade. Something to think about. I'm also Team PC. My brother. Louis says, have a great week, everyone. Thank you for dropping by, everybody. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I think that is going to be all for today. I do appreciate everybody joining, spending some time with us today and joining the conversation. I really appreciate you all. And I will be here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And I'll see you guys all then. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.